All right, Mech Warrior, what is the best standard weapon, primary weapon, for a battle mech? That's the tactica and the framework we're going to explore in this vlog, looking at it from the point of view of a standard battle mech, a trooper battle mech, an all-takers battle mech, not a specific battle mech that is in a battlefield role, say like the longbow or the archer or the Jaeger mech or the blackjack. These are mechs that have a very, very focused role, a primary battle mech, kind of your typical medium to heavy battle machine. Now, lights, we're going to put aside light mechs for the moment because when we define a primary weapon, this is the single weapon or the dual weapons, if you have that redundancy, that is going to be the focus of your mech, and you're going to be firing this weapon most of the time. If you can take the shot, you're going to take this shot. It's at most ranges, long range, medium, short range, and then there's a collection of secondary weapons, probably short-range missile packs, medium lasers, small lasers, that you're going to switch over when things get really close and you're just trying to scratch off as many armor bubbles as you can. We're pushing aside light mechs for the moment because for the most part, primary weapons for a light mech is going to be a medium laser. There are a few light mechs, one that comes to mind, the PPC with the Panther. There are a few light mechs that break that mold, but they're very special. They're very focused, and it's a specialized type role, kind of like the Firestarter, as opposed to this is a light mech, these are the standard light mechs. And light mechs with that medium laser for your primary weapon, you're limited by the tonnage. I mean, compared to medium and heavy mechs, there's a massive tonnage difference. And for light mechs, you still have to pack in all that tech goodies, all that tech stuff. Fusion engines, sensors, hopefully an ejection system, looking at armor, looking at the support structures, looking at other weapons, looking at heat sinks. That tonnage gets taken up fast. So we see medium lasers. That's the primary weapon for light mechs. Now when we jump into medium mechs and heavy mechs, I want to ask the question, what is that primary weapon, that single weapon, or if it's a mech that has two primaries that you're going to be firing pretty much every turn? If we're talking about inner sphere tech, we tend to see three primary weapons. And again, if this is a specialized mech, like a longbow or an archer, we're pushing that out to the side. The first would be a PPC. This is kind of on the high end with tech, with C-bills, 10 points of damage, lots and lots of range, no ammunition, but the cost is heat. The cost is heat and the space that it takes up. There's a lot of damage for a lot of heat. On the opposite end, what we seem to see with medium mechs and some heavy machines too, but primarily with mediums, to save that heat, you find an autocannon 10. So I've still got good range. I've got great damage for inner sphere. We're just going to say the clans don't exist for a moment. 10 points, great range, low heat buildup, but you're limited to ammunition. And the challenge here with that ammunition, of course, is I think not so much in a one-off game or a single game of Battletech do I ever really run out of ammunition. It's very, very rare. But if you're playing in a campaign, then at that point, of course, ammunition, depending on the mission, depending on the supply lines, depending on your C-bills, ammunition can become part of a challenge. The biggest thing is the internal structures with ammunition. With a medium mech, you could take some hits. You take that hit where the ammo is, it explodes. That's the difference between the PPC and the autocannon. Ammo versus no ammo. Somewhere in the middle where we've got damage, we've got range, we've got heat, we've got no ammo, we tend to see the large laser. And I feel like in many ways the large laser has been overlooked by the PPC because for just a little bit more, the thinking is, hey, damage is damage. Over a consistent number of turns, there is a difference between 8 and 10 damage, going from a large laser, which already takes up a good amount of tonnage and C-bills, for just a little bit more. But I counter that by saying, yes, 8 to 10, but the difference in heat is also significant, especially if you're an active medium mech where you've got some good heat sinks, but you're going to be running, you're going to be gunning, you're going to be jumping. Kind of the perfect example of the medium laser, medium mech would be the Phoenix Hawk. But we also see some heavy machines that have that large laser. Excuse me, I said medium laser. I meant large laser. That large laser heavy machine, we see a lot of those too. There's a number of them out there, such as the Thunderbolt, right? T-Bolt is kind of pressed for heat. It's low on heat sinks because, look, we've got to save somewhere. We've got all this armor, kind of armored like an assault mech. We've got lots of different weapons. The primary weapon is that large laser. Now, once we jump to assault mechs, now, I mean, we're trying to save tonnage because we want to pack it with weapons and armor. But now you've got enough to mount. You see with the Battlemaster, you see with other assault mechs, the primary weapon is going to be that PPC. And most of the time you can fire it without, I won't say without worrying about heat, but you've got good heat management. Then, of course, in that large bracket, we've got the dualities of the Marauder, of the Warhammer, pushing those PPCs out. So as a primary weapon, this is an analysis that when we're looking at mech selections, this is kind of building on last week's Battletech post, push that up to the Battletech playlist here, where we were looking at evaluating a mech, right? You want to add a new machine to your collection. You're interested in exploring some different tactica. And the first question is to look and say, as this machine exists by itself, what is it trying to do? And then once we join it to a lance, what is it trying to do? Or a battle group or combined arms, tanks, and infantry. Looking at that primary weapon, this is the weapon you are going to be firing every single turn as soon as you are in range. This is the weapon that you're going to be leveraging the most. And often, based on the weight class, this is the primary damage dealer. So looking at that difference between autocannon 10, PPC, large laser. If that primary weapon switches over to missiles, an example of that would be the Dervish, or if that primary weapon is autocannon 5s, or like the Blackjack, autocannon 2s, that's a different focus of the primary weapon. You're still going to be firing that every turn, but it's either in a harassment support role, like the Blackjack, where, look, I've got extreme range, low heat, it's 2 damage on each autocannon. I'm just going to start firing away and see what happens. Maybe choose some motive hits on your vehicle, maybe try to swat down some of those warrior helicopters, maybe just to see, hey, let's fire some shots and see how committed you are with your light mechs. Compared to a missile boat or something like the Dervish with the primary weapons, pushing that out, it's more of a indirect or direct support role as other machines advance. So looking at that primary weapon for that battle mech and looking at the tactica with what it does.